episode, we're going to be talking about consumer credit card debt and leadership skills. And hopefully those leadership skills will help you have less credit card debt. Enjoy. Welcome to the Age of Jeremy. My name is Jeremy Quintanilla. I am the founder and CEO of Q Consolidated Limited. We focus on investing and creating, I don't know why I paused like that. We focus on creating businesses in media and entertainment, finance, investing and insurance, education and e-learning, art, music and the humanities, earth and human sustainability, and advancement into earth and space exploration and transportation. If you are new to this podcast, this is all about the trials and tribulations I go through to build my business empire, and I hope you pick up some wisdom along the way. I also have guests that share their trials and tribulations becoming content creators and the adventures that they have gone through to become entrepreneurs. If you would like to follow me on social media, you can check me out everywhere at Age of Jeremy, except on X, it's Age of Jeremy Q. And on Facebook, it is SR Jeremy Quintanilla, but there are links in the episode descriptions to all of that. But where I would really love you to follow me at is on YouTube, as we focus on building that YouTube channel at Age of Jeremy. And we also have one for Age of Radio called at Age of Radioverse. It's Age of Radio's YouTube channel where all of our podcast episodes go up there and I do lives. I will be doing a live this Thursday with Jose Gonzalez from 3T Espanol from Gonzalez Media LLC. We do a showcase live there from people that are inside of our Addicted to Podcasting Facebook group. There's a link for all of this in the episode description, except for with the live with Jose. To be a part of that, join our Addicted to Podcasting Facebook group so you can see it, or make sure that you watch it on our YouTube channel. I'm super, super excited to announce that we are finally moving more, I guess, forward or pushing harder with the Q Financial business. One of my goals this year is to hit a certain revenue mark, hit a certain customer mark, get an office over here in Glendale, and to start building a financial services company throughout Glendale in Arizona and other parts of the country and of the world as well. There is a form if you are interested in talking about your taxes. I know April 15th is tax time. If you have a corporation and you want to have some conversations about that, for May 15th. Again, we focus on businesses, specifically businesses probably from about $0 to $2 million as of right now. We are growing. I think QuickBooks is a good product and service to help businesses and to manage their accounting through that up to about that range. And so we're focusing on that right now. So if you have a business that's somewhere with revenue from $0 to $2 million, please reach out to us. We would love to have a conversation with you. If you have personal taxes or tax situations that you would like us to advise on, set up a free consultation as well. There's a form down below. Again, it's for Q Financial. And also, if you're interested in bookkeeping, you shouldn't be managing your own bookkeeping. You, as an entrepreneur, have other things that you can be focused on. So let us do that bookkeeping for you and help you with all of your financial planning and financial education and financial growth. And then one of the other things that we do is also life insurance. There's lots of businesses for executive-focused life insurance. There is the permanent cash value life insurances that we talk about for individuals to help families secure their wealth over time and to make sure that their families are taken care of after they are gone, and or you can utilize it as an instrument to carry on your family wealth for many, many generations. So if you're interested in learning about that, fill out the free consultation below. It'll get the information over to me and I will work to set up time with you. And then eventually we will have other people that can sit down with you as well. But for right now, it is me and I would love for that. Also, if you would like to be a part of my team, underneath the Milliere Warriors with Coach CJV, please fill that out and we can set up some time to talk. But we are really focused on this and I'm really excited to see where we are going. So on these podcasts, you will hear me be talking a lot about it. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into today's episode. U.S. consumer borrowing rises driven by credit card balances. This is a post or an article from Bloomberg by Vince Goyer or Golay. I apologize if you ever hear this. I apologize for butchering your name. U.S. consumer borrowing advanced in February, driven by the largest increase in credit card balances in 3 months. Total credit rose $14.1 billion after a revised $2.7 billion gain in January. According to the Federal Reserve data released Friday, the median estimate in a Bloomberg survey of economists called for a 15 billion increase. Revolving credit, which includes credit cards, climbed 11.3 billion in February. Non-revolving credit, such as loans for vehicle purchases and school tuition, increased $2.9 billion. The figures aren't adjusted for inflation. Robust job growth continues to drive household spending through consumers' credit card balances. Robust job growth continues to drive household spending, though consumers' credit card balances are mounting. With accounts carrying higher interest rates and monthly payments taking a bigger chunk of their paychecks, those borrowers could be at risk should the economy and labor market weaken. And the reason why I'm talking about this is a prime key indicator of things that are going to happen once the economy pulls back, and people are going to probably go into further bankruptcy because they're not going to be able to pay off these credit cards that have such high interest. And so inside of our academy, I am constantly talking about credit card debt or personal or consumer debt is just not, in my opinion, is just not something to fuck around with, excuse my language. Leveraging money to move your businesses forward, have no problem with that. We use a credit card because we can manage all of the expenses on that credit card for 3T Warrior Academy, and we get amazing cash back. But from a consumer standpoint, unless you have a really big cash saved up to make sure that you can maintain that balance on that credit card, there's just no point in having that specific credit card. It's one of the biggest things that gets people in trouble because people cannot manage their credit card debt. And so what happens is when people are feeling really, really good about what's going on in their lives, the job market is growing, they're getting credit, they're taking more risks because they think that they're going to be able to pay it back. And then if something happens, then they can't pay it back. And then it causes the economy to collapse and fall in on itself. And that is one of the biggest key problems with debt. And I'm constantly trying to tell people inside of the academy, on my social medias, on this podcast, that the longer that you can go to build wealth over time, right? Utilizing something like index universal life insurance. And I'm just using that because we believe in it. I believe in it, that you can create a cash balance in that. You can borrow against it tax-free at a really, really low interest rate that can come off of the spread, depending on the insurance product that you have or the insurance agency that you go with. Or worst case scenario, you pay a little bit because that interest is much, much lower than you would have had on, say, a credit card. And so the point is that the longer that you can go or build wealth with living below your means or at your means, but probably below your means, I think would be better, you can get yourselves in a much better position. For instance, I have been doing this with Coach JV for 3T Warrior Academy, building our businesses since I started building my businesses in 2016 specifically. They kind of changed. I put one to the side. I put actually multiple of them to the side, and now I'm trying to get them going now that I'm in a better place and have the ability to hire people and do so much more stuff with it. But the thing is that you have that piece of it. You have a piece or a time period, I guess I should say, where you just do not use that money for anything. So from 2016, when I started my businesses, up until 2021 is when I started paying myself. Maybe the end of 2020, I started paying myself a little. That was 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. That was like 4 to 5 years that I would go on a hustle. And now I'm continuing to go on that hustle, continuing to build businesses without taking any other money from the main businesses that are moving forward, like 3T Warrior Academy and our insurance agency, right? And so all of that money that's coming, actually, I'm not even taking money from the money that I'm getting from the insurance agency. I'm putting that into Q Financial. I'm using that just to build and grow Q Financial. I live, for the most part, except for maybe books, education, like conferences, things like that, education, some travel, and musical instruments. I live exactly the same that I've always lived. Nothing has specifically changed. I don't drive a fancy car. I don't have a really fancy house. I don't have, fancy landscape stuff coming out. I don't pay for fucking courses up the ass for like ridiculous out of unrealistic amounts of courses for mentoring. I go and I try to find the books. I try to read myself. I try to find lower costs. I try to manage my expenses. I stick to a budget. And because of that, I'm in a place where no matter what happens, I am in a great place financially. And that took just 1, grinding it out, 2, not spending, 3, living below my means, which goes along with not spending. And that is how you can get ahead. Do not waste time on credit cards. Go without, and you will go further in the future if you just build and build and build. We'll be right back. As I was saying before the break, a lot of my growth over the last couple of years has just been from grinding it out and going without. Now, I want to be very clear that you don't have to do, I do believe that you have to do that to be successful. The longer that you can grind something out without taking from it, the more wealth you will have in the future from being able to do that. So the longer that you can go without while building something, the greater your potential for having freedom with your wealth than doing any other activity, in my opinion, and from my experience. And so the problem though is with that is that when you're doing that type of grind, you do forget to sharpen your saw, right? So that's something that's talked about in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is you have to spend time to sharpen your saw. And so my saw, I guess, gets dull. My mental prowess or my mental growth, my physical fitness. I tend to do physical fitness on a regular basis, even though I don't eat as best as I should and as best as I recommend that other people should. So I'm a little hypocritical in that area. And then also too, making sure that your spirit is aligned, spending time with your spirituality. The one that I definitely need to do more is with social interactions, being with friends, being social. And so those are things that I'm continuously working on because I know that has gotten dull, and you have to keep that sharp because it makes you well-rounded. But the same thing goes for certain things in business. So a lot of us have something that we're really, really good at in business. So for me, it's management, right? Management skills, operations, finance, marketing, all of it, because that's what my academic background is in, right? It's in finance, accounting, and business administration. And so the thing is that we should always be working to keep those things very sharp over time to keep us good at that thing that we spent so much time learning. And so that was something that I have not done as well as I wish that I should have. And I'm trying to get better at that. And I'll talk about that more over the months and the weeks, and make sure that you check in on the lo-fi episode. That's where I kind of go deeper into my own learnings, rather than giving, say, advice like I do on this podcast and like we're going to be doing today. Because along with that, leadership is something that we continuously have to work at and continuously get better at. And if we're not sharpening the leadership saw, if we're not becoming better leaders, if we're not learning what it means to be better leaders, holding people accountable, how we manage things, how our intellect is, how we understand the business world, how we understand the government landscape, how we understand the industries that we're going in, then we're not going to be able to lead people into the future. And so it's very important that we also have the ability to sharpen our leadership skill set and to create tips. So I think that there are some practical tips that work really, really good in leadership that we should really, really try to focus on. And the first one is 100% communication. One of the things that I tend to do with my businesses is really make people understand that communication is so important. Sometimes that communication can be through email. Sometimes that communication can be through text. Sometimes that communication needs to be on a video call and us talking about it. Some of that communication has to do with being able to mediate certain situations, telling people how we feel. And we do not spend enough time in society understanding how communication is. Effective leaders are able to express their ideas clearly. They're able to actively listen. So good leaders spend less time talking, they spend more time listening. And so practicing that either in a classroom setting or in an organizational setting, that's also, I guess, a classroom setting, or practicing that with a partner or practicing that with a business partner, the more we get better at actively listening and articulating our thoughts when speaking or writing to other people, the better people are going to understand us. And so that's going to foster good relationships with other people because we're able to talk things out. It's also going to be able to talk out business ideas where we can move the business forward, and a lot of this stuff takes a lot of time and a lot of energy to do these things, and those things need to be set aside to do them. Strong communication builds trust within an organization, and I cannot express it enough that I've seen it in my own organization that when we have not been so strong with our communication, we do not excel and succeed the best that we should otherwise. Another one is influence. So successful, and I like to bucket influence along with like sales. And so one of the books that we read in our book club is To Sell is Human, and it talks about all the ways in which selling relates with everything that we do in life. So selling in that book really means like trying to get someone else to go along with your opinion or to understand your opinion, which also takes really strong communication. And this type of selling is also that influence. So successful leaders motivate their teams to surpass their goals, and that is actually an art of selling. So the more that we can spend understanding how selling works, understanding how to win friends and influence people, which is a book. I always forget who wrote that book. When friends and influence. I never remember who wrote that book. So if someone wants to DM me and be like, it was blah, 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 that's fine with me. So winning friends and influencing people is something that we need to be able to do. Now, doing that in a malicious way is 100% wrong and not how to do it. And that's why books like How to Sell as Human by Daniel Pink is so beneficial in this, because we are constantly trying to influence others. Okay. Leaders need to understand team members' motivations and present compelling rationales for their ideas. So again, it goes back to that communication. So you are trying to get people to believe in that vision that you have. And so you have to influence them to move them forward in that vision, not just tell the vision, not just say, this is what our vision is, but this is why we have this vision. This is what I'm doing to make sure that that vision comes to life, and then encouraging them and influencing them to take that to the next level. And again, these are things that can be taught, understood, educated on. We can practice them and we can get better at them. And that is something that I am actively working on. And I recommend that you actively work on moving forward to make sure that you are a much better leader tomorrow than you were yesterday. Another one is learning ability. So leaders need to continuously seek learning opportunities, whether through courses, certificates, or experiences. And this goes back to a little bit what I was talking about. Do not. You have your like core understanding of what it is that you're good at. I'm good at management, business, finance, philanthropy, understanding how that works in a business, documents, legal stuff like that, right? And so leaders, right, they continuously learn in that area and get stronger in their core competencies, right? And then the other thing that they do is the things that they need to know about or want to move into in different industries, they go and they learn about them. So one of the biggest ones for me is obviously space. So space, the space economy, right? Being able to, within the next 10 years, have businesses that are in the space economy being a part of that industry. So I have to learn how to be a part of that industry, how we can be a part of that industry, how I want to be a part of that industry, how to raise money to be in that industry. And then also with real estate development and with certain financial services that I want to do here in Glendale. And so those things take me taking time to learn education. You will always be stronger if you are educating yourself and then taking that and applying it. If you just educate yourself and you don't apply it, then yeah, you're not going to use it as much. But leaders take that education that they have because they're trying to move something forward. So they get that education and then they go and utilize it and they get better at it. If we're not using the education that we have, it's like learning German, right? If you listen to my lo-fi, I'm spending some time learning German for musical education purposes and for personal growth. And so inside of it, like if I never start to talk in German, if I never start to write in German, if I don't practice like actually reading in German, then me learning German is irrelevant and I'm never going to get further. It goes with any type of education. So if I'm going to spend time learning how real estate development works, I'm going to take that education, or if I take a sales class or how to build a sales team or get better at sales, I take that information, then I go and present it in a way in which I can educate people or learn how to educate people and then educate people from the education that I have, what I've learned from the education, and then I can go out there and then I can utilize it and I get stronger at it. So that is one of the things that business owners or leaders, I guess, do really, really well, is that learning agility. It's continuously learning about these opportunities and putting them into place. And also, I think taking what they learn and being able to teach it and educate it makes them stronger leaders as well. Another one is self-awareness. So a lot of the times, and this is just a human condition, at least it's an American human condition. A lot of people aren't self-aware of what's going on in them. So the more that we can be self-aware or reflect on our behavior, our knowledge, and our skills, the more that we have an understanding of who we are and where our pitfalls are and where our strengths are. So if we're not constantly, it's like Socrates says that the unexamined life isn't worth living. And that has to do with self-awareness. If we are examining our life, being self-aware of what we're doing and examining our life, then we can be better for the people that we are going to lead. So we need to understand our strengths and our weaknesses. It also allows us, self-awareness allows us to lead authentically and make informed decisions. So we can't always be doing the things, we can't always be pushing things forward in the way in which we see it is. There are some times where we need to do that, and there's sometimes where we need to listen to people. Sometimes we need to listen to people and be like, you know what, that is right, you're good. Sometimes we need to ask them, listen to them, and then just say, no, this is still, I think, the right decision. Let me go and move that forward. But that is the art of learning how to make informed decisions, by having successful people around you and having people around you that you can ask that stuff to. So a lot of the times we put ourselves into a bucket, or we make it difficult. And I've done this for many, many years. I have made it very difficult to build strong relationships with friends because, one, my time is super like boom, 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 boom. And it usually has been one, but I make time for all these boom, 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 boom things, like doing this podcast right now. I'm going to record the lo-fi right after this for the week, maybe release the lo-fi before this one, who knows? And so the point is that if you are doing boom, 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 and you're good at planning that time, you need to learn how to plan in the things that build strong relationships. Because in my mind, and I'm learning this from the Frientimacy book, which is a book focused on women relationships, but there's a lot of value in it otherwise anyway, right? Is that you have friends. It is okay to have lots of friends. There's nothing wrong with that. You should have lots of friends, because and I know this might sound bad, but it has a friend pool that you can do when there are people that you need to move up in different layers and levels of friendship, or if maybe a friendship goes away, right? So you're never alone, because that's what causes loneliness. We're so alone in society because of the fact that we don't have strong relationships, and we are not constantly creating these types of relationships or constantly creating new friendships as we get older. So as we get older and we move ourselves away from being with people because of social media, we sometimes feel lonely, but that's for probably another podcast. The point is that leaders need to learn how to be self-aware so that they can lead authentically and make good decisions for themselves and for the people around them. And then leaders need to spend more time building relationships, cultivating strong connections with colleagues, cultivating strong relationships with mentors and friends. And so, and with family members that are part of the business, or family members in general. These relationships can provide support during challenging times, like I was mentioning, and contribute to our overall success in our business and our leadership and whatever we are doing. And so, if you are in a business, one of the things that Wells Fargo tried to do that I thought was really, really good, and I don't know if they still do it anymore, is that you used to have like one-on-one. So I would have a direct report, or someone who directly reported to me, and I would have a one-on-one with them, say monthly, sit down with them, talk to them, see how they're doing, what it is that they want to accomplish, and how they're going to move their life and them forward. And that takes a lot of time, especially if you're running a large business. But then something that Wells Fargo tried to do that I thought was really, really good, that I think organizations should do, is that there should be a two down one-on-one, maybe once a quarter. So for instance, so like me, I manage Antonio, and sometimes I kind of manage or help manage, the things that May's managing. So May, and then so like it would be good for John to have a one-on-one, not with me, but then John to have a one-on-one with like all the other team members or whatever the case is. And then for me to have a one-on-one with all the other team members. Right. And to make sure that we're on the path. Now that takes a lot of organization. It takes a lot of good note taking. It takes a lot of good HR structure processes in place, which companies like Microsoft, or there was an HR company that we had, could do, because HR is super important, because you need to manage those human resources. And I know that we think a lot of that as corporation. Don't think of it as corporate, like political and trying to go through the grind. Think about it as nurturing relationships from a building strong team members that can build other businesses with you in the future, or that you can have as people that you go into and have real friendships with. Because a lot of the times there's two things that we come sometimes there's three things that we do not do good in business. One, we tell people that they can't talk about fucking politics, which is that's something that we should talk about so we can be empathetic for people. So if you are in an organization or you have an organization, let everybody fucking person talk about politics. There is nothing wrong with the problem is how we communicate. So the communication has to be strong. So if someone is saying, like with me, right, I believe that every child should be able to be aborted. And so I joke that even an 18-year-old should be able to be aborted, but that's a joke. And so I have no problem with abortion. However, I'm a very big fan of gun rights. Okay. Not only from us being able to suppress corporations, but also being able to suppress governments, us to be able to overthrow the government. If some idiot like Trump gets into power, let's go overthrow that motherfucker and take back the government, right? Or from their perspective, if they want to do that, and with Trump, I mean, not saying that if we did that, I'm saying that if, for instance, he like overthrew the government, we would be able to go and overthrow him. None of that would ever be able to happen if we did not have access to guns, access to tanks, access to aircrafts, access to missile systems, which for some reason we don't advocate for enough. But that's another story as well. You're probably thinking that I'm some gun nut, and that's fine. I personally don't have guns. I love knives. And so point is, I think there are lots of things that we could do with militias, with protecting ourselves, that we could do to overthrow a government and or corporation if we needed to, that should be managed by the people. Now, but again, going back to what I just said, also, I'm also very advocate for women being able to have health care rights and to have abortions. And so if I cannot have those conversations with people, I cannot express my opinions on it. One, and the opinion point isn't to like change the opinion of the other person. The opinion point is to be able to share each other's opinions and then to see where those people are at in their lives. So if you know someone who had an abortion, which I do know people that have had abortions, you are more empathetic because you know that person. Just like people are more empathetic around borderline personality disorder. When they get to know me, I get to explain the disease. I get to explain how I have managed that over time, some of the pitfalls of it, some of the growth of it. And so you start to open up and you don't have this bias against people with borderline personality disorder moving forward, unless I put it off in a horrible fucking way, right? And so the point is that the more that we have these conversations, the more empathetic we can be. And over time, that might actually change the way in which we vote, because even though we may not believe in it 100%, we may have seen someone who benefited of it. And because of that, we might be able to say, you know what, abortion should be legal. Or it could go the other way around too. Maybe that person who you told their opinion about abortion and they had an abortion and they thought about it, maybe they're like, no, we shouldn't have abortions, and they would vote the opposite way. That's why it's good to have communication. But we as a society, we suppress that because we think it's going to make things difficult. And it's only making things difficult because we do not have those conversations and we are not strong in our communication and be able to have those conversations with other people without getting riled up. The second one is religion. We should have way more conversations about religion. Everybody should be able to have their religious freedom. Everybody should be able to believe whatever they want in whatever creator they want and anybody should be able to not believe in whatever they want, or to, I guess atheism isn't really a belief system. It's just the absence of God. And so you should all not believe in God at the start of your life, and then you just believe in God over time based off of external stimuli. But anyways, that's the philosophical conversation and not what my point is. And the third one is we tell people that they shouldn't be friends with people that are at work. And we should be friends with people we have at work, because that is a consistent thing that we see people on a regular basis. And that's one of the things that builds strong relationships. And the other thing is we think that we shouldn't have relationships or strong relationships with our managers and our support. Now, there are things that you shouldn't like vent about down, right? You should always vent up if you're frustrated about something for the most part, but there are still reasons to have strong relationships with the people that are in your organization. And there's a reason to be friends with them. There's a people to work with them. And sometimes it's difficult it's difficult for managers to be friends with the people that are below them, because it can sometimes create a sense of bias, and we try not to have those biases. So I can understand that as well. But if you are a small or a family business, the bigger and better the relationships that you have with the people that are in your institution or in your tribe or in your clan, the more likely that you're going to care about their success. And that's why those one-on-ones and those conversations are so important, so that you can really really help them get to the next level by maybe investing in their business or helping them start their business or giving them time to work on their business. We think that because we're paying people, we need them to be so focused on all of the things that we are trying to do, or maybe some of that time can be a couple hours a day them focusing on the things that they want to do, and that's part of them working for you, because then you can learn what they're doing and maybe support them in that. There are all different vehicles and ideas and ways in which we can change business, but one of the things that we get stuck with in the Western world, and this might be different in the Eastern world, but in the Western world, like we tend to think that we're the owners of the people that are working inside of our company, that it's always our way, or or at the end of the day, our way. Not saying that it's our way or no way, but we have a tendency to not be very good at building those strong relationships with our team members because we're told not to, and we're taught not to, so that we can keep that control and maintain that hierarchy within inside of an organization. Because then there's other types of organizational systems, such as not a vertical hierarchy, but a horizontal one that goes out, where people don't have a traditional boss and people work together, or there's co-ops that you can have. There are all kinds of different ideas that we can try to do inside of organizations, inside of governments, that we don't, because we are so stuck in thinking that this is the best way, that this is the only way. And whenever you try to critique it, and you critique it when people think that this is the best, then, well, you never get to move forward. And I would just end with this in this topic, is that if every point in time people have thought it was the best, and there were some people that said, no, we need to critique it, we can make it better. And that is how you moved things forward within a society. And so, again, just to recap on some of the things to end this episode, on leadership, make sure that you are taking the time and planning out you improving inside of leadership, improving in your communication, improving in your influence and or your sales, improving in your learning agility, improving in your self-awareness, and improving in your relationship building. And these are some of the things that I'm trying to do to be better inside of my organizations and the people that I work with and the people that work for me and the people that I work for. Because at the end of the day, even if you're a business owner, you still work for someone else in some capacity, even if it ends up being the community, or if it ends up being your shareholders, or if it ends up being your customers, you, in the end of the day, still work for someone. So as I always say, be thankful, grateful, and kind, and we will talk to you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to The Age of Jeremy. If you like this episode, make sure that you like and subscribe to the podcast, or like the episode and subscribe to the podcast if your podcatcher allows you to. Our opening song was Brave Faces Everyone by Spanish Love Songs. Our closing song was Threatening Each Other, Recapitalism by Illuminati Hotties. I recorded this episode on a Neumann microphone on a Zoom L8 mixing board into Steinberg's Cubase, utilizing Waves plugins. And like I always say, be thankful, grateful, and kind, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.